Hello and welcome to the Moinscape podcast. I am Matt Moody, joined by DJ Mitchell as we prepare for the Thursday, March 5th NHL Daily Fantasy Slate. Let's get into it.
You're saying they're looking like an idiot.
Well, is that any different than normal?
This is the first time I will admit was unbelievably wrong.
DJ, it's been a while. It's been, did we do a Saturday show? We did, right? Did I talk to you on Saturday?
Maybe. I think. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I can't remember that far back.
I think we did. Anyway,
We did. Yeah, we did.
It's been a few days then. Because on Tuesday, Matt stepped in your place. MN Matt, if you missed it, you missed out. The best show of the year, many people are saying. Just me.
Everyone said
I'm
it.
saying that. But yeah, how has your week been? And how is your Wednesday going?
Week's been very, very good. Tuesday was a smash fest. Wednesday is not a smash fest yet. But there's still time for it to be smash-like. So, fine. I mean, yeah, I have not talked to you since the big Sunday win. Well, we've talked, but not live on air. So congratulations. You finally got one. Good for you. You watched me win the Olympics and you're like, well, I got to do something. And you're just like, I'll just win like, I don't know, 19K. No biggie. I'm not busy.
I got to play the nuts because that's what wins apparently.
Yeah, it is. You are normally rewarded if you play well, if you play the best plays.
I thought yesterday was going to be a fucking nuke. I posted 2 bets in the MSP Discord, and it was because there's 2 DK boosts, and there was like 20% like just baseline boost, 5-1 Gritsuit goal. Slate flips over. System plays Gritsuit. I go, if you haven't bet it yet, you've missed out. Like, he's scoring. First period, easiest goal of all time for Gritsuit. Never a doubt. And then I did a same game parlay before the news broke officially of Gunther with Keller at 5-on-5. Basically, I'm trying not to get my account, blocked, even though I'm a giant fucking donkey. So they'd be stupid to block me or limit me or whatever. But I was like, I think this is going to happen. So I'm going to bet Gunther goal, Keller assist. And because the boost was the same game parlay with 3 legs, I said, well, let's grab someone from Montreal in the late game, and I shopped around in Dobson. Okay, cool. I like that. First period, Gunther from Keller, Giga Smash. It was like a 16-1 SGP if Dobson gets a point. They scored 12 goals in the game and no Dobson point. Just, the most heartbreaking of ways to not win, thousands of dollars. But I almost pulled the DJ in the betting streets on Tuesday, as they call it.
They have been calling it that. Yeah. 3 of the 5-on-5 goals, or 3 of the goals for Montreal came at 5-on-5 with Gooley and Matheson on the ice. And then they had 2 power play goals, 1 with Dobson out there. So just didn't quite get rewarded. Sometimes pain is inevitable. But we have 8 games on Thursday. It kind of feels like a normal Thursday. We haven't had like a normal 8-gamer in a long time.
That is true. And I should say there's a bit of a delay in us starting the show, and that's because old friend of the show, Doug, built a Twitter scraper specific to a slate that tries to summarize the news for me, so it takes me less than an hour and a half to update the Excel before every slate. But I had to spend an hour debugging it because, I'm an idiot. So I had to get that working, and then I had to update the sheet once it got working and everything. So I actually did not pull together the Excel for, the rainbow sheet for tomorrow. So I am doing that right now. Is there any other way you can stall for time for the next 35 seconds?
Sure. I mean, trade deadline is here. So that's really the main nonsense slate overview stuff. There's a number of players that will, we see it on Wednesday night. We're going to see it on Thursday night. And probably Friday as well, be held out or what have you. Some players that are maybe pie in the sky type guys that maybe get moved, maybe not, probably not, etc. We did see Mackenzie Weegar go just a little bit before recording, so that's going to unlock different players on the Flames, for example, that we're going to be talking about on this slate. This is the kind of breaking news that's going to be very impactful. That's why this is one of the most important slates to get news on the year and like use that news to your advantage. But there'll be more news to come. Like there will be a player held out tomorrow that we don't know about now that we may say something about, and then we'll change the slate entirely. So it will delay the process. Game by game, we're not going to get too ahead of ourselves on too much of it, but we will talk, like what if Charlie Coyle is held out, in the first game we're going to talk about, and then who's going to be on the top power play in our prediction and like stuff like that. That's going to be the main nucleus. I'll also say that I did look, there are 0 birthdays today of any active NHL player at all.
Damn.
So
That's
no
tough.
birthdays. It's the worst news. But we start with a Sergei Bobrovsky revenge narrative. But does he play? Or will he be traded? That and more next on Diners.
Is he auditioning, one might say?
Ooh, could be auditioning. So, yeah, slate's overview's up. The numbers are going from red to light blue. The pace has been pretty good since returning to play, as it often is. And that's when you can capitalize on winning some big bets. You find, again, like most of my bets yesterday were, some of it wasn't brand new news, but much of it was news that the books haven't caught up to yet, like Logan Stanley, who's had like 8 shot attempts per game since returning and is just Josh Morrissey right now. And like Kindle gets moved up to the top line. Like stuff like that is going to happen across the league. We're going to see players getting bigger roles that normally don't have them. And it's definitely a good time to take advantage of it. So anything you want to say before we get game by game, or any game you want to highlight here on the sheet?
No, well, sure. If you look at the sheet, Buffalo Pittsburgh looks kind of crazy. Not only leading the slate with 7.1 expected goal pace. Normally we see 5.5 is green on a given slate. They're up in the 7s. The Reds are in the 4s kind of deal. So big separator there, but also by goals, it's also the highest paced game. Not as high, 5.3, but still the highest game of the night. So there have been goals there, and they've come with a ton of events, especially expected goals from both sides. So maybe start there. Boston Nashville also looks kind of interesting, though on paper it reads a little grosser, at least to me. And then lastly, Ottawa Calgary. Just Calgary continues to offer up fantasy goodness for opposition. Just even if it's not by way of just sheer goal volume, they just play at such a high tempo that blocks, shots on goal, they count for DK scoring as well. So Ottawa will be at top of my list as far as parsing, figuring out what to do. And then lastly, Brandt Clark is free. All hail Brandt Clark. But yes, yeah, against a back-to-back Islanders team as well.
Okay, then let's get into game number 1. First game of the slate, as I already alluded to, is Florida at Columbus. I would say first, but let me ask you this, Matt. If I said which team in this game would be leading the Pacific Division had they had been moved to the Pacific Division, would you say Columbus or Florida? Because it's Columbus. And that is in large part due to just how good Columbus has been as of late. They just seemingly win every single night, don't care. Florida, on the other hand, seems to continue to lose every single night. There's a number of players that are locked in long-term and will just continue to be here. I would be somewhat surprised if players don't get shut down at some point, especially Brad Marchand, who's been hinted at being injured for a while now. But regardless of if they get shut down or not, there are a couple players that could be moved in depth spots. I would assume this fourth line does not exist after, the trade deadline, for example, but nothing insurmountable. One player that's been really playing well, and I would say is the only piece here that I'm like ultra interested in, is Matt Tkachuk. I did make him the cover boy. He's been awesome since returning, just shooting a ton, very involved, kind of the biggest catalyst of offense on this team, and it's just not priced accordingly. So like against Columbus, I don't really mind going to it, but is there anything else you want to mention here from the Florida side?
Yeah, the lines are very much up in the air, considering they got pulverized last time out. So they started Lucian and Lindell Reinhart at later in the game. It was Vilmanis, Lindell Reinhart, for God knows what reason. They also had Verhaeghe, Bennett, Tkachuk. So I have it Lucian and Lindell Reinhart, Verhaeghe, Bennett, Tkachuk, Vilmanis, Erod, Marchand, Samoskevich, Nosek, Greer. Obviously, Samoskevich is the most likely guy to enter the top 9 fray. but who knows what lines will be. Evan Rodriguez has been really good too at the center position. He's also only 3,500, so certainly keeping him in mind. Defensively, Balinskis is back, but last game Ekblad kept the power play 1 gig. Didn't go well. I expect that to revert back to Balinskis, but who knows? Maybe they are trying to. I don't know what they're trying to do. I don't know because Ekblad just signed a long-term deal too, so you can't even say, "Oh, ship him out." I don't know. I don't know what you do. This team sucks. Unfortunate. Well, it's a revenge game no matter who starts in net, Tarasov or Bob. So there you go. Goalie lock there for Florida.
There you go.
On the Columbus side of things, we still don't know Zach Werenski if he plays or not. Didn't play on Tuesday again, so now he's had another day to rest. Maybe he's in for this playoff push. Maybe he's just not good to go. I don't know, but got to keep an eye out for that because if he doesn't play, Provorov is once again one of the better plays on the night, getting 27, 28 minutes, power play role with Marchment, Fantilli, Marchenko, bonus. Pretty much, yeah. I mean, any guy who plays 28 minutes is going to be a good play. Like, that's just kind of, the long and short of it.
Yeah, especially at that price. I mean, he's just too cheap, all things considered. And did he lose the top power play role?
I didn't think so.
No, okay. You did it mark there. I was probably like, did he lose it? Well, it'll be back to Werenski.
Yeah, it's Werenski if he plays.
So, yeah, I mean, top power play, top penalty killer out there, empty net situations, like I said, basically a preloaded blocks guy. And actually has some propensity to shoot. So, yeah, no problem there. Obviously, I am Werenski to see if that comes to fruition. I am tentatively interested. The prices continue to come up on Columbus 1, and it's not like Werenski's come down in price a little bit, just not playing. He's down from like 8,800, I believe. He was over 9K. Holy crap! Before the break, but slowly starting to drop in price. So, I mean, there's options here. I'm not ultra interested in the Blue Jackets, but I'm not fading them inherently either. Are there any of these depth pieces that you like?
Yeah, I mean, Charlie Coyle is continue to produce, and he's still only 4,600. Some of the shine is off, obviously. He's no longer the fancy new toy, and that price is not, punt like he was when he was 3,500. But it's still a good value for a guy averaging nearly 12 expected fantasy points a game and running red hot at 15 actual fantasy points per game. It's hard to find that much upside in a player at this price, regardless of matchup. Kent Johnson moved into the second line to replace Boone Jenner. Jenner is out for this game again, so 3,100 Kent Johnson, power play 2 of Sean Monahan, 4,100. They have Danton Heinen on their line. It's less than 10K for a nominal second line. You could do significantly worse. It's not the best, though. Johnson, Monahan, Severson could be, a cheap way to play a stack that doesn't include Danton Heinen. Slightly better, but yeah, top line 19,000 for Marchment, Fantilli, Marchenko. I don't know. I get it. I like this matchup for them, but without Werenski especially, it's a tough pill to swallow.
Yes, I agree. So I will probably not be playing it. We could move on to game 2, back-to-back Toronto. They are tied with New Jersey now, so might be heading off to overtime, getting a little bonus hockey there. They let Luke Hughes score. I didn't know any team was allowed to do that, but they found a way to do it. So, yep, Toronto at the Rangers. You want to talk about another team that sucks? So 2 bad teams basically out of the mix. Could both be moving guys for sure. Like not even a remote question if either of these teams could be moving pieces. I think both will. I think the Rangers are probably anybody could be technically available, but there's some players in Toronto that will be kept. But certainly keep an eye on, the fringe kind of around the Nick Waz and things of that nature. They should be moving. So someone could get a bigger role, and definitely check the last game, which is not quite over yet. Anything on Toronto going against a very, very bad Rangers team you want to mention off the top?
Yeah, I mean, with all their inactive guys, Easton Cowan stepped in alongside Matthews and Nylander. They scored a goal at the tail end of a power play. As you know, I think they just moved to a 5-on-5 configuration there. So he's not power play one, but he's 2,600 all the same and on the top line. In the brief showing we have of him in the NHL so far, he's been quite good as well. So or, not quite good, but he's been league average, productively, which for 2,600 on a line with Matthews is quite good. Um, Nyes, Tavares, Domi, it's cheap enough in this matchup to consider. I don't know if you'd have told me preseason that a Nyes, Tavares, Domi line is playing, legitimate top 6 minutes and it's $13,000. It feels like something you would be paying attention to. But, the season played out how it has. Jake McCabe steps into a larger role with no OEL. He gets prime power or PK role plus power play 2 time. Now, is the power play 2 worth anything with Domi, Cowan, Michelli, Wah on it? Probably not. But yeah, it's not a bad thing to see guys get elevated roles due to these scratches. So considering the matchup, it's going to be hard to really, deny that Toronto's very much in play here, especially Matthews, Nylander, Cowan, which obviously is where I'm looking at a 19,000 line that I do like a whole lot here.
Yeah, I'm definitely I've been at the start and finish for me for my interest in this game really entirely. So yeah, I would say that is more consideration than Columbus, for example, for me. But nothing else here that I think is all that important. Like maybe Morgan Riley, it would seem to be important that they're OEL sat. I think he gets traded. Like somebody's getting a big boost. Let's look here at the time on ice log. McCabe played 24 minutes. Riley played 20. Yeah,
Stetcher.
sounds like Stetcher played almost 20. So a couple guys getting bigger roles. Yeah, I mean I don't have a problem with that kind of an angle either. Putting them in with if you're already playing Matthews and Nylander, like you could play any of these defensemen that we just mentioned. Carlo is completely dust. You don't need to play the third pair. McCabe has got a good blocks guy for sure. So those points still count.
Very, very excited about this game. I can tell.
Not really. No, Toronto sucks.
On
So let's talk about the other side.
On the Rangers, no JT Miller, so lineup reshuffle as a result. Very interestingly, Gabe Perreault finally broke out in a big way last game. They were down 4-0 to Columbus, and they said, hey, we're going to turn the team over to Gabe Perreault now. And he said, hey, I got you. So Cooley, Zibanejad, Perreault, Radish, Trocheck, Lafreniere, Sherry, Laba, Cartier, Edstrom, Carrick, Parsonen. I meant to check the power play there last game. Did Perreault earn his way to the top unit in the third period?
He did move. He scored on the power play or got an assist on the power play on one of their last goals, and it was to Miller, I think. So I think it took over for Lafreniere, but I don't know if it was like a start. Let me look. They scored on the power play.
Yeah, that line started and Trocheck came out with them, so it would have been in Cooley's place. Okay, well, actually, because we're assuming Miller's out of the lineup now. So, yeah. Here comes Gabe Perreault to save the day. He admittedly hasn't done anything. He's had a long leash in the NHL so far this year and done next to nothing with it. 20% below average across the board in any rate stat you look at for fantasy purposes, shots, DK points, primary points. But the underlying process has ticked way up in the last 10 games, nearly 9 expected fantasy points. That number for him was like in the 5s before, if not lower. So certainly a good thing there. And then obviously to see it turn into, I think it was a goal and 2 assists in that period, could be the start of better things for what he was. It's not showing because I think it was Gabriel Perreault. I think he was a top 20 pick, right? He was somewhere in the teens, maybe.
Yeah, he was in the teens.
So he's got a lot of pedigree. I don't think he's going to be a huge volume shooter or anything, but for 3,500, correlate that with Cooley, Zibanejad, Fox, and that's a pretty good price, I think, for 14.4. I don't know. I like it. I probably like it more than the Toronto top line, given they're on a back to back and seems like they're just selling. Not they're selling everyone, but also they're just selling the season short. New Jersey has 46 shots on goal right now, and it's a bloodbath. It's like 5 expected goals to 2. So I like the Rangers side here if you're not going Toronto goalie.
I agree. I definitely like the punts here quite a bit. Like, I'd rather go cheap than expensive. I mean, not that there's all that much expensive other than Zibanejad, but I agree. I honestly don't mind Lafreniere, Perreault, like any of these guys. Check the lines tomorrow, see if they don't change. I think it's honestly an interesting game regardless, but I kind of like the Rangers side too, just fine.
Yeah.
So
this
I don't
was
mind that
practice.
This was practice.
We should have, should have this.
All right, next, let's talk about another boring game.
Utah goes from DC to Philadelphia. They're going to keep their same lineup, we presume, from that victory over Washington. So Keller, Schmaltz, Gunther, Peterka, Cooley, Krause, McBain, Hayton, Yamamoto, Kerfoot, Stenlund, Carconi. They traded for Mackenzie Weegar. I imagine he's not going to be ready to go by Thursday. So I would expect it to remain a top 4D of Sergachev, Durzi, Schmidt, Marino. But keep an eye out, obviously. It's going to the U.S. Yeah, it's going to the U.S. where they have the immigration issues always, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So almost no way Mackenzie Weegar plays in this one, and maybe not this weekend either, but we'll see. In any case, the interest is pretty limited to Keller, Schmaltz, Gunther for me. Anything else from you?
Top line or bust in this entire game, probably. I think it's just this top line. I don't have a problem with Sergachev either. He had been shooting quite a bit since coming back from the break. 5,400 is just fine. I think it's gonna be tough to play it on this slate just because there's a lot that I like that is expensive that we haven't gotten to yet. But I do, I would not mind saying make it a 4-man here. Like I said, Sergachev has been shooting a lot, 5,400, very involved with the top line, and I mean not Washington. Philly can give up goals and punches. They're both winning kind of stuff, so I'm fine with it. Not to the moon and back on anything here. There's not one play I think is the clear nuts, but Gunther is always a one-offable, even with this lineup configuration. I still think you could just say the volume comes to him and the goals, and the other guys only end up with 7 or 8. He gets it just kind of breaks up the points a little bit if he scores and has 5 shots. He is a piece of good flip. As you're showing, this game sucks. It's going to be boring. It should be low event. I'm not overly interested in kind of pulling overboard here.
It's the worst game on the board by expected goals, by actual goals, by pace. There's really nothing about Philly that screams, DFS upside. And then obviously the Utah side is heavily reliant on a power play that sucks. I mean, despite this talent, they've not been able to get their power play going all season. They're good players, but can you really trust the game? I don't know. I like Gunther as a one-off 6,500. You mentioned Matthew Tkachuk earlier. I think I'd rather just play Gunther one-off instead.
Probably right.
But, whatever. To each their own. Tkachuk has been slightly better by the expected and the actuals last 10 games here. It's just the problem down the lineup is I think all these lines will split ice time. It's not like there's going to be 5 minutes to one of these lines that really boost everyone else. So it's top line or bust. On the Flyer side, apparently there were new lines last game. I did not verify this myself. So they played in one in a shootout against Toronto. Wow. maybe did not know
You
that
want,
happened.
yeah, New Jersey might do the same here right now. So
um, with
we're
Konechny
yeah,
out, they moved Tippett up, and he played 22 minutes, so that's nice.
yep,
We do like Tippett
bit
minutes,
soft.
and they use the Zegras, Michkov, Tippett, Brink, Drysdale unit as the top unit. So technically, we have a power play one Michkov, but the Dvorak unit scored because Christian Dvorak is inevitable. And is there anything else good here? I don't know. You tell me.
No, there's not. This like Utah's really good defensively, and I just don't really think there's any point in jamming in a not very good configuration of the Flyers with players that are like you could obviously play Noah Tippett like that goes without saying at 5100, but I think going overboard here is a really bad call in a really bad game where they should be the worst team. So it's going to be a no for me, dog.
Okay. Michkov is 4,200. He's been dog shit lately, not doing anything out there. So tough
How do you really
scenes.
feel?
But if you wanna mix Tippett, Michkov, or something, I don't hate the idea just because Tippett, we know if Tippett gets there, he does so in a very fantasy friendly way. So if he can put up 25 points, Michkov could get 2 assists, he could hit a bonus or something. Not likely, so I'm not likely to play Michkov on his own or stacked with his line mates, but because Tippett is such a singular fantasy asset, that would be how I would do that if I had to. But not a ton of reason to do that, as discussed before. So let's get to Buffalo at Pittsburgh. Buffalo, apparently they are trying to convince Colton Parayko to come play for them. I am trying to convince Colton Parayko to not come play for them. And we don't really know who comes out of the lineup to make that trade happen. Is it Noah Ostlund? Is it Jack Quinn? Is it nobody? Is it everyone? Did they trade the entire franchise for Colton Parayko? Seems possible. So, any thoughts on the Sabres here?
I mean, I would be fine if they traded for Colton Parayko because he's better than their bottom pair defenseman. But I think we equally worry that they're going to trade for Colton Parayko and play him 20 plus minutes a game. He would be one of the best third pair defensemen in the league. I think that goes without saying. But how much are you giving up for that seventh defenseman when, or not seventh, that fifth defenseman when I just don't think it's worth doing. Like my mindset on this is, and again, this is just completely made up, but the St. Louis Blues are transitioning from one GM to another, and they're trying to show the league that they're not. It's not going to be easy sledding trying to get stuff done there, and I don't know. It's been very weird. Only Dreger is posting shit. He seems to be wrong about everything. We'll see what happens. So yeah,
Seems to be wrong about everything. That should be the tagline for this show.
that should be the tagline for the show. Now the Sabres from a DFS perspective.
I wanted to shout out this comment. I forgot to highlight it.
It's very funny.
B Thrasher. My brain doesn't work. Clearly, the podcast of stars. First, we get MN Matt. Now we get Olympic Sissima. That's right. How does it feel to be compared to Sissima? Tell me about the Buffalo Sabres.
Let me tell you about the Buffalo Sabres. I mean, they get hockey games. That's what they do. They exist to win hockey games. They have been winning hockey games at a clip that is unparalleled, really, since December 20 whatever. They've come down in price a good bit, kind of across the board. Like Tage and Dahlin are expensive, but like Dahlin at 6K feels too cheap. Tage at 7,600 also just a pretty big reduction over time. He's a guy that was up to 8,700 at the end of January, and it's come down quite a considerable amount. Like I get the reason behind it, like the reason being that they spread out the offense through 3 lines and roll 4. It's just a lot more difficult to find that vacuum of production coming through any one of the lines, with any amount of certainty. Power plays are kind of split up between all the bunch. Doan and Norris feel like a stackable option, but you playing with them, or you got to play them with Dahlin, or you got to play them with a cheaper defenseman that plays a lot of minutes. Samuelson, Power, and Byram are very cheap considering their role. Like we talked about players that are playing 27 minutes, and they're not going to play 27, but they're going to play 24. They all are guys that kill penalties, can block shots, kind of do it all. So like there's options here in a game, which again is the marquee game on the slate for volume, two teams that are very competitive in the playoff race, kind of everything you want and more. And yet I struggle to say like definitively I know which line on the Sabres I want to play. I'm just such a fucking idiot sucker for Josh Norris that's probably what I'll end up having, but that doesn't mean you should. So what do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I think if you stack Sabres, you want multiple defensemen, honestly. Like, this pricing is kind of crazy for just how good their decor has been at generating fantasy points. They're not the safest, like there are certainly nights where you'll get 4.3 from a defenseman but whatever. But that's the case for any defenseman on, almost any team other than, even on this slate. Are there even any of the true alphas, especially if Ferensky misses? Sergachev, Dahlin, Yossi, Radish. Like, we're missing Makar, we're missing Bouchard. Like that's sort of what I'm trying to get at. To the point where there's not going to be this guaranteed lock it in type play at defense, and if the Sabres get there, it's likely through these top four defensemen, given how much they play, like you just said. 3,100 for Byram, 37 for Samuelson, 6K for Dahlin. I'd probably go like Dahlin Byram or something. And if I'm playing Tage, go like Tage, Dahlin, Josh Stone, Byram, and just say, there's my 4 stack, get some more forwards from elsewhere. I think that's an interesting way to go about it. But yeah, I'm curious to see what they do in the next 24 hours, given all the trade speculation that's surrounding them, and that may change things as we need to consider it for Thursday's DFS slate here.
Sure.
On the other hand, Pittsburgh just lost to Boston on Tuesday, so we'll see if these lines stick, but they did move Kindle up to the top line between Raquel and Rust. Gives them a true top line, which is very good for us from a DFS standpoint. Again, if it doesn't stick, that would kind of suck, but Kindle played 17 minutes, Rust 22, Raquel 20. Malkin played 21 minutes. So Chinikov, Novak, Malkin, Raquel, Kindle, Rust. You can basically just cross out this third line as being, time on ice stealers, because before you had to get Kindle as 15, 16 minutes, which raised Brazo and Mantha up a good bit. Now, yes, Mantha gets the power play time, but his 5-on-5 role has gone, drawn down dramatically. And in the game state where it's like a high flying game, you're not going to see a Chari Dewar play a ton. Now, if they're trying to hold a lead, sure, come on down, Nola Chari. But without Blake Lizotte especially, there's some question as to how much this bottom 6 will play, which makes me like the top 6 a whole hell of a lot. Just before I let you talk, 14.8K for Raquel, Kindle, Rust, and 13.3K for Chinikov, Novak, Malkin. Both of those sound really good to me.
Yeah, I would not fault anybody for playing either of those top 2 lines. I mean, the thing is about the Sabres are a bit of a paper tiger theory that's out there, is that like the thing that supports it is when they're getting these leads and they're holding these leads, other teams are starting to take over some of the expected goal share. And if those expected goals become real in a game, it's going to win a DFS slate. Like that just can happen at any point in time. So the Penguins, I think, set up really well for that. I mean, it did kind of happen once already. It was just Avery Hayes that did it at probably 0% ownership. But if the goaltending springs a leak, which it just hasn't in a while in Buffalo, but if it does, it could be a scenario where that's a slate winner. Like every night they're giving up 30 shots on goal, and they are leading a lot of these games, and those are affecting it. But the Penguins are a team that shoot, I'd say, more than most teams just on average, and there's a very easy kind of the opposite. There's a very the Sabres, like there's a very easy vacuum to these top 2 lines that make a ton of sense. The perfect correlation is frustrating, But I still think you're fine playing Raquel, Kindle, Rust, or Chinikov, Novak, Malkin for the 5-on-5 and getting a lot of still power play usage between the top two units. So I do like the Penguins
Yeah.
a lot tomorrow.
Grubauer starts. I think you mentioned a
Yep.
goalie to me earlier.
I did have the cord in, and now I have Grubauer.
Great. All right. That's Pittsburgh for you. Boston at Nashville. Again, this game also profiles quite well via the rainbow sheet. Kuznetsov, Lindholm, Pasta is 16.8K. Kuznetsov, he's Kuznetsov. He's unlikely to get there in any sort of appreciable way for fantasy, but Lindholm Pasta played, I think, each 23 minutes last game. Quite good stuff there. Middlestat Zaka Arvidsson remains one of the most underpriced second lines in the game. This time Middlestat scored, which was a little annoying for Arvidsson people, but still it's 11K for that line, and they're getting decent ice time, and they're kind of good. They're not great, but they're better than 11K. Isimont, Minton, Geeky, Jano, Corrali, Kastelich, no thank you from me. And then Charlie McAvoy has been pretty good as of late. 11 fantasy points per game over his last 10 for 5,300. That's going to get the job done. Right about that mark that I'm looking for my fantasy players.
Yeah, I like this game a ton too. I mean, this is another one that I like. I mean, I like both sides and kind of in different ways. Like I mentioned that there's guys I want to spend up on this slate, and one of them is absolutely David Pastrnak. I just like he has not smashed since coming back from break. He hasn't really smashed in the month of February, which is gone, but it's bubbling under the surface, and the role is certainly there for him to do so. So I'm like pretty interested in looking at the Lindholm, Pastrnak, Arvidsson situation again. I know Arvidsson's not with them at 5-on-5, but just he is the third best forward on this team. I mean, really maybe the second as far as fantasy is concerned. Morgan Geeky, of course, has the elite shot and can outperform as expected, but Arvidsson it can get there. Like 1 goal, 5 shots. It exists for Arvidsson. It just doesn't really exist for Morgan Geeky at his price. So I like Boston a lot. Nashville does not scare me defensively at all. Yeah, I would just not play Kuznetsov. It just feels very unnecessary. I don't mind McAvoy, or really, I don't really mind him either. Like he seems to be back since the break, and he's playing a huge role power play too. 3,400. There's probably other options on this slate, sadly, but he is shooting and blocking pucks, so I don't mind him.
Yeah, I like that take. He's playing with Mason Lohrei too, which is like just gonna amp up their sort of volatility as far as the puck moving up and down the ice. Also of note against Columbus, it was about Zach Werenski, but they did manage to put up 3.4 expected goals, and there was a 3.4 to 3 expected goal game, so a lot of tempo there. And it makes sense considering that they had just traded away McCarron and they had scratched Cole Smith, like 2 of their more defensively oriented guys, which basically just leaves them, the top 6, which of course, Stamkos, Marchessault, Evangelista, like certainly no defense to be found with any of those guys. And then you get rid of their sort of safety blanket third line and replace that with LaRue, Bunting, Wood, Ozzy Weissblatt, like just kind of cobbling together like depth minutes. I think that's a very good sign that this game's going to have some offense. Maybe it's a better sign for Boston than Nashville. But I think Nashville, I don't know who they call up to fill this spot. I think like Fedor Svechkov or Reed Schaefer is the next man up. I'm not sure who plays center from that mix, so that's something to keep an eye on. If they go 11-7 because they only have 3 NHL centers, then I think we got to consider guys like O'Reilly and Eric Howla. But I hope they have a plan. They're a Barry Trotz managed team, though, so they may not have a plan for who's going to take a goddamn face-off. They traded Nick Blankenberg like right before the pod, right? Did I dream that up?
Yeah, they did. No, that was real life. Yep.
Adam Wilsby disappeared. I think he's hurt, and then I don't know. They have some other guy who's young in Rochester ties, but I don't think it's David Ferentz anymore. There's another guy who had Rochester ties. It's in the AHL who they could call up. But anyway, A lot of moving parts in Nashville, but it doesn't really take away from this top six. That is 15.7K top line, 14.9K second line, Stamkos, Riley, Marchessault, Evangelista, Haula, Forsberg. Hard to say which I prefer, but both of them are pretty solid. And this game is ripe for the pickings as far as game stacks are concerned, in my opinion.
Yep. Yeah, Evangelista took over the top power play from Marchessault, and they scored. So that might stick. I'd be surprised if it didn't.
Okay, I thought Forsberg was just on the ice still, or am I thinking 2 games ago?
I don't know. I don't know what you're thinking. I'm not in your head yet, but I'll get there. Or did they? Maybe I could be wrong.
Yeah,
they may have
yeah,
scored.
It was a shift change.
It was a shift change. Okay, so that might just be wrong. Whatever. Regardless, I don't really care between the two. I like them both, and I don't think you need to get crazy with either of the stacks. Like you could, I mean, and you're, we're trying to figure out like which other defenseman is the guy that you might want here, and it just might just be Yossi. If you have the money, try to get up to Yossi because, like I don't really want to play Perbix or Nick Hague or anybody like that. So I definitely don't want to play Brady Shea. So I probably just if I don't have Yossi money, I might just not do it.
I'm of two minds when it comes to that Yossi decision because, like I just laid out, like it's pretty clear that he's the alpha defenseman here. Like you could argue Rasmus Dahlin, especially for 1,300 less, is the play. But Yossi's been incredible. Logan Stanley and Brant Clark though coming up later, and Calgary, the vacuum they leave with Zane Parekh, they may need to be factored in as far as like, okay, well Yossi's the top guy, but can we cobble together value from elsewhere? So that's, I guess, something to consider as well. And Provorov, if Werenski doesn't play, and then Werenski's up there. So all that to say, I don't really think I'm actually finding my way to Roman Josi here.
Yeah, I doubt I have the money, but I just think it's Josi or nobody, and like that's fine. And of course, let's keep in mind here that Nashville already has created a couple of guys, and Stamkos and O'Reilly are at least mentioned in rumors, so could be guys to consider. Riley also, they have him listed on DraftKings as day to day. He was injured in the third period.
Oh yeah, he took that stick to the eye.
Yeah, to the eye. So just keep an eye on if he plays at all, and if he doesn't, McCarron's gone. Like we're saying, like another, like I mean, honestly, Speshkov could come in and immediately be put into a role where he could be of note.
What's Brady Martin up to these days?
I was gonna say, how do we get Brady Martin back in the mix? But yeah, it's I mean, again, like oops, no centers kind of situation in Nashville, and it's kind of been that way the whole season. And they're like, why can't we win games when we have no centers? Good one, Barry Trotz. You really outdid yourself this time. I still like the game stack. Okay, there's gonna be guys in huge roles that are important, but I'm struggling to. I'm starting to like Boston, the Boston 3-man a little bit more, and a little bit less wanting to stack Nashville. What?
O'Reilly got hurt with about 12 minutes left in the game, and they went to Marchessault, Stamkos, Haula, Forsberg, Evangelista, Matthew Wood.
Well, you've given me Wood, so Matthew Wood, come on down. 12. He's going to play 12 minutes regardless. Who cares?
But I'm going to be able to tell myself a story that'll be different this time.
Yeah.
So keep an eye out for that.
No.
Yeah, that actually is.
It might just work for us. No.
Yeah, O'Reilly certainly should have thought of that.
You ever watch Nashville and you just see Matthew Wood just jumping off the screen and they just don't play him? I don't know. I do not understand. So keep an eye on Matthew Wood. He is. I mean, he's probably bad defensively. I guess I don't know, but he absolutely rocks offensively. But we get to the Tampa-Winnipeg game. Tampa Bay, I feel like it's safe to say, has not looked great since the break.
What makes you say that?
Well, they lost to Buffalo, and then they lost to Minnesota.
They didn't just lose. They got fucking murdered by both those teams.
Yeah, that's true. Well, 5-1 that game ended up. I guess I kind of stopped paying attention. It was like 3-1. But yeah, and lack of depth is concerning. Kucherov, Point, Gensel is what they went to in the game. So maybe that they go back to that and just run it the whole time instead of pretending like Oliver Bjorkstrand is of value.
No, they just double shifted Kucherov.
Wait, what?
Like they just went Hagel, Strelly, Kucherov, line 3, Gensel, Point, Kucherov, line 4, Hagel, Strelly, Kucherov. You know, they just did that the entire time. They just flip flopped the like. But in any case, their top 6 is really a top 5, like you're mentioning with Bjorkstrand. That's the important point, except for the power play where Bjorkstrand comes out to not score goals because it's not for the fate of Cleveland, Ohio.
This is true. He is the person that did bring them back to championship glory. So I don't know. I guess the real question is, do you respect Winnipeg enough to not play Tampa, or do you not respect Winnipeg and want to play Tampa? Like that's the question we're gonna have to ask ourselves here. I think I respect Winnipeg.
There's really not a ton from me as far as interest in this game. I'd rather play Pasternak than Kucherov. And with that in mind, like I don't really see how the rest of this makes any sort of sense. The game looks average. It's not as bad as you might think. I'm guessing it'll be a 5.5 total, so maybe there's some value there just because it'll be so like underappreciated, but I don't know. Doesn't leap out to me as exciting. And the reason I would play this game is more so on the other side. So there's nothing here that I would look at. But for Winnipeg,
Tampa,
we still have Logan
Tampa's
Stanley.
Yeah.
Coming in at 4,200, just significantly mispriced for the time on ice he's currently getting. Josh Morrissey is expected to try to return this weekend, so I think that rules him out for Thursday. I think they said targeting Saturday. So one more game of Logan Stanley. Let's enjoy it while we have it, in my opinion. And then you can stack that with any of the power play one. But Cole Perfetti has been their best fantasy player. He scored last game again. I think got 4 or 5 shots. So kept it going after we said good things about him on Tuesday's show.
Yeah, no, he's been awesome. Like he has not had a game with under 3 shots on goal since January 27th. Like he only has a couple shot bonuses, but he's just been very consistently involved and getting goals and just playing super well. So like it was bubbling under the surface and it's finally coming to fruition. He is priced accordingly, but like you can play it any way you want it. They did go to Iafallo, Shifley, Connor, Perfetti, Lowry, Velarde at one point. I don't know if Pupet's back over Lowry or if they're going to go back to Velarde over Iafallo, but that did happen in the third period. And I would just keep an eye on that before you lock in one of these lines. But I think at the end of the day, I end up not playing Winnipeg or maybe just playing Stanley because like the top line is really expensive. I mean, it's playing big minutes, but I'm just not sure if I'm that interested. And I don't know if I want to pay 5,300 for Cole Perfetti, but I could consider it. But I think I end up.
It's a little more interesting now because Perfetti Velarde would be tightly correlated. It's still a bit expensive. Yeah. Velarde's not been worth the price, but it's very much a upside home run play that you could shoot for.
Yep. It's a good mid-tier stack. Throw in Stanley, and it's something. So I don't mind it. Tampa's just like we said, played horrifically, and Winnipeg's been just fine. So I don't like it that much, but it's fine. I think I'm just more interested in the next team we're going to talk about. If you're gonna kind of go with the somewhat expensive route, I think I just like Ottawa. I mean, I like few of my top teams are just Ottawa, Boston. Like those are probably the two. And Ottawa has some expensive-ish pieces, but like Drake Batherson feels very underpriced, like very, very underpriced at 4,800. And I'd like to take advantage of that. I'm sure others will as well. He's been absolutely red hot. 4 goals in the past 2 games. Tons of shots on goal, tons of attempts, tons of just electric play from him as the Ottawa Senators try to claw their way back into the playoff mix. And they're playing a very bad, even more depleted Calgary Flames who certainly could be sitting guys out. There's still a lot of guys that could be on the move here. So, yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts on the Ottawa Senators, who I assume will be very to pretty chalky?
Yeah,
pretty to very chalky.
I'm trying to... I mean, it's a 5.5 total, and Ottawa's minus 150. Now, we did this exact same fucking thing with Dallas for, they were minus 120. Is that, no. Calgary fucking sucks. So, I'm actually going to go bet Ottawa money line right after I finish talking here, but like I don't think the team total is going to be above 3, which means I don't think ownership will get that high. We're going to have 3.5s elsewhere on the slate, so thanks to the 6.5 totals. So I find it likely that Ottawa comes in, appropriately owned, like not super high. And for that reason, Batherson, again, jumps off the page. He dealt with injury at the beginning of the season. He's been basically a point per game player, went into the break, came out of it firing. Like that's exactly what we're looking for. He was hurt. He got time to heal up. He was already good before that. The price doesn't really reflect even how good he was before, but now he's even better. And the matchup's perfect. Yeah, Drake Batherson, one of the top plays on the night. Tim Stützle hit 3 posts against Edmonton. Certainly could have used that extra point there, but good try, guys. You almost got there. Giroux, just a guy. Kachuk, Cousins, you can pick one of those guys, play him with Batherson, Stützle. You can play Kachuk, Cousins, Batherson. I think that's what Matt and I agreed on last show. Which maybe we cursed Tim Stützle to hit 3 crossbars. So, tough scenes. My apologies. And otherwise, Chabot, Jordan Spence, both get secondary power play time. Both good fantasy producers per minute. Ways to stay cheap while building around studs in Ottawa for sure.
Ottawa minus 150 on the score.
Yes.
Instead of minus 162. So I just bet that myself.
Hey, we did it. We made money on this show.
We'll see about that when Ottawa somehow finds a way to snatch defeat out of the jaws of victory like they love to do. So, yeah. I mean, you could convince me to game stack this because we're going to get to it. But yeah, either of the top 2 lines. Jake Sanderson's come down in price a pretty considerable amount as well. This is a guy that was in the sixes pretty regularly, down to 5,600, still same role, just hasn't really produced at the same clip. But if you're going all the way in on Ottawa, throw him in there if you'd like. I'm leaning towards, honestly, Kachuk, Batherson, Stützle, and Sanderson myself, just kind of crossing the lines a little bit, but I don't think that's a problem at all. Going 4-man, that's one of my favorite stacks of the night. And if you were going to try to game stack it, I mean, are we releasing Zane Peryak?
I think it's pretty obvious that the answer is yes. With Uyghur out, they're gonna install Braden Pahal back into the lineup. Like Parek's gonna be power play 1, Kevin Ball probably power play 2, but like Parek has all the prospect pedigree that's trading Mackenzie Uyghur is even more so than Nazem Kadri, in my opinion. Them just saying, yeah, we need to go long-term rebuild here because I think Uyghur's a little bit younger than Kadri, if not significantly younger. But all the same, he's out the door. So it's a youth movement. Parek gets the number 1 chance at being a impact power play defenseman right away. 2,500, I think he gets 20-plus minutes here. I don't see them giving Hanley Pahal a bunch of minutes. So sink or swim time for Parek. He's gotten some seasoning in the NHL. He's played 4 games in the AHL, apparently nuked down there. Pretty fun stuff. 3 times the rate of primary points and nearly 85% better shot rate than the average AHL defenseman. So he's too good for the AHL, and he's very good for the NHL, in my opinion. So, yeah, it's slappy time. Zane Parek, lock of the night.
If you had to guess, if you don't have it up right now, who by just a hair led this team in time on ice last game and is a defenseman, who would you guess?
Kevin Ball.
No.
Zach Whitecloud.
No. Not Uyghur.
Yan Kuznetsov.
Yan Kuznetsov, who has had 4 blocks bonuses in the past 5 games, playing over 20 minutes every single night. And like, he's not a crazy rate shooter, but like, he has had a couple games in there where he's put a couple pucks at the goalie accidentally. But like 2,800, I mean, you're probably just playing Zane Peryak and taking the obvious value. But like, if they're paired together, could you see yourself doing it? Just saying like total punt defense, Perrier gets a point, Kuznetsov gets a point, we get a blocks bonus in there. Like, it helps you afford so much on a slate that there's not a ton to pay up for. Like, there is no McKinnon, there is no, I mean, again, Matthews is here, but like not going to even be played. Like, but it would help you kind of actually game stack Nashville Boston if you wanted to get Yossi, Forsberg, and Pasternak in a lineup. Like it just might be a differentiator in a very weird way, but you're probably just playing Perrier, and we're just getting a little bit. You're talking like Yonkov, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think as the board's opening up, there's jamming in some power play dudes is going to be much better for defense. Maybe even opening up the flex for a defenseman power play one guy. Because I don't think we need to go full on punt to fit in, superstars like you were saying. So I think just getting like the guaranteed role is more appealing to me than saying, oh, well, maybe hit the blocks bonus again. Because even then, I don't know if 8 points is really moving the needle for me that much. But
okay, that's fine. Anything else you want to mention?
There's many ways to skin a cat.
The corpse of the Calgary Flames. You want to talk about Gridden again, or?
No, nothing new here. Greedon continues to have decent underlyings. He's 3,300, and Kadri remains cheap at 5,400. Though, if he gets moved, he's probably a scratchier. So keep an eye out.
Yep.
Last game.
One game
we get
left,
to the Islanders at the Kings. The Islanders are in action as we speak against the Ducks. So playing a back-to-back. We don't know of any news yet out of that game. But heading into that game, Ryan Pulock was confirmed to miss. I believe he's out for Thursday, but I guess I don't know that for certain. Mayfield moves up to play with Schaefer. Don't really know if that does much of anything for anyone. Not that big a deal. Horvat, Barzal reached 7K. Schaefer's nearly 6,000. Feels a bit rich for me personally, but maybe I'm the crazy one because I think this Kings team is pretty good.
You are the crazy one because you think the Kings team is pretty good, but I don't mind it in this game at all. I'm not going to. I'm playing the Islanders on Wednesday night, so it'd be disingenuous for me not to say that they're interesting. But on this slate, I just can't see myself paying up for Horvat, Barzal, and Schaefer again. Like it's Schaefer's been every bit rewarding of 5.9K, maybe even could consider like the way he is playing is insanity for his age, and like I get that he feels expensive and just is not. I'm not going back to it here. This is just way too much salary to spend in a back-to-back game against a Kings team that just frankly isn't quite dead, but on life support.
I think the Kings are still more. Were you the one who told me this, or is it somewhere else that mentioned the Kings are more likely to make the playoffs than the Kraken?
Kraken, yep. No, that's what FanDuel had last night. Look, I mean, it's definitely down right now. We'll check if that's true tomorrow. But going into tonight, Wednesday night,
so
it was like almost. It was like I think they were minus money for the Kings and slightly plus money for the Kraken, and it's like, what do they know that I don't?
That the Kings team is really good. They were led by an absolutely horrendous coach. On the Kings side, yes, that's right. It's that time of the show where I tell you to put all of your loose assets on Brandt Clarke. I call it betting the board. You type in to your little app, you go Brandt Clarke, and then you see what's offered, and then you bet yes, or you bet the over, or whatever you do, because I am firmly of the belief that this guy, used properly in the correct role, is a top 5 fantasy defenseman right now. He's got the pedigree as a top 10 draft pick in 2021, but just what we've seen from him has been outlandishly good for the minutes he's received. And under this new head coach, now it's just one game, but hey, you've heard of Artemi Panarin, Anze Kopitar, Adrian Kempe, right? And maybe Adrian Kempe is someone I've been banging the drum that they should be gluing Brandt Clarke to because they have such good results together on ice over the past 3 seasons. Well, against Colorado in the first opportunity, Brandt Clarke was glued to Panarin, Kopitar, Kempe. Now, Clark scored on the power play, only had 2 shots on goal, but I think he had 6 or 7 attempts. He played 23, 24 minutes. It was everything we had hoped for. There is a massive barrier in the way here. It looks like Drew Doughty returns. So this is kind of the test of DJ Smith to say, like, hey, can you figure out that Drew Doughty sucks and that you shouldn't be, dragging down Panarin Kempe with him? And I don't know if he passes it, but I'm willing to take the chance because I think Brandt Clark's upside is that explosive. And I would be remiss to say I missed it. I missed the Brandt Clark breakout because I think Jim Hiller was just the absolute worst coach for Brandt Clark's career progression.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is true for poor Brandt Clark. But yeah, he's been unleashed, top power play, and you're not going to believe it, but they're scoring now with them out there. What a novel concept. So yeah, all of that to say, DJ Smith also things didn't go too well in Ottawa, but he was given a different scenario for sure with one of the youngest teams in the league at the time, and now he has one of the more veteran teams. So hopefully he doesn't fail the test too miserably. I love Brandt Clark. Everything about him. This team is very, very much underperforming their expected. Hopefully they get a couple guys back. The top power play was Kempe, Perry, Kopitar, Panarin, and Clark last game. Laferriere played a ton of minutes as well, but you gotta get a couple more guys back from whatever injury and sickness and stuff because things are a little bit dire right now offensively for them. Yeah. But I don't mind it. The Islanders they have holes, they have warts, and a back-to-back game against the Kings, it could be the perfect spot to capitalize. So I do like the Kings a good bit. With all that being said, there's 8 games.
Byfield,
we went through them all.
Yeah, Byfield remains out here, by the way.
Yep.
Don't know
Sad,
if that was
but true for
addressed.
the best ball bags.
Who could have told you that was a mistake?
Nobody said it ever once.
Nobody. Nope. You're right. Nothing. All right. It's about that time. Top stacks, guaranteed goals.
Let's do it. So, yeah, I mean, I've already, I think, planted my flag pretty firmly on a few teams. I will start with Boston, Pasternak, Lindholm, Arvidsson.
Okay. I am going to take Panarin, Kempe, Clark.
Shocker.
It's expensive, but that's why you do it. People aren't going to go there. It's almost $20,000 for those 3 players.
Yeah, what if the people just they don't go there? It's affordable. You're going to have to punt defense, but there's a perfect option to do it. Stützle, Batherson, Kachuk with my Boston stack. So give me a little Ottawa. Hold on a second. I should be writing this down. What was your first stack again?
Panarin, Kempe, Clark.
Duh. Okay.
All right. Stack number 2. Let's continue to go wildin' on the streets here. Give me. Should I just? You know what? I'm just going to take a Pittsburgh line. I should actually give out good plays here and play good instead of being a fucking dumbass playing Rangers.
Pittsburgh is the obvious option.
I'm going to go Chinikov, Novak, Malkin. It's a little bit cheaper than the top line, and I really like Tommy Novak still. They had a down game against Boston. It happens. But I think the situation's there that they're going to condense minutes more than they have in the past.
Okay. Do you want to start with their guaranteed goal, or you need a minute?
Well, I'm just going to guarantee a Gabe Perreault goal because I was very close to going. Yeah. I was close to going Rangers stack, and give me Gabe Perreault 3,500. He moved on to the power play unit.
His expected goals are really, really good too. This is not like just a roll. Like he's been doing it for the roll increase.
Yes, and his sort of superpower, if you're talking about who's this player sort of deal, he's more of like the brain. He's the guy who sees 7 steps ahead. Like I think he still is the U.S. development. The U.S. NDP. Their team, I think he has the most points in that program's history. with everyone who's gone through. Maybe I'm wrong there. That could be, made up, but there's something there where like he set a record there, and he's like not the most talented guy out there, but he's the smartest guy out there. So like if you like some savvy, he's your guy. And scoring 3 points in a period last game doesn't hurt either.
Is that good? I have not heard this theory. That might be good. That's good.
I'll check with my sources, but yeah, I think it's good.
Okay. They're saying survey says that is good. Give me, how much was Perot? I don't want to just fall right into your vacuum. 35. Okay. Give me one Mr. Got to get in your way?
Who? No. You cut out.
Gunther?
It's fine.
Is that sort of your range? Okay.
Nope. I'll go Gunther 45. That leaves you 4,500. So I like that.
Okay.
Dylan Gunther. In the 7K range that I have left, a few good options. I prefer Philip Forsberg of the bunch, 7,100.
That was the guy I was looking at.
Game stack.
And that's who I stopped myself from saying, because I was like, I think that's exactly Gabe Perot. And I just went down 1,000 to Gunther. I mean, this is going to shock the world, but give me Josh Norris.
Oh, God. Of course. All right. Well,
who could have thought? Who could have fucking thought?
Not me.
He's shooting a little bit. A little bit.
I did not see that coming.
You did see it coming, you stupid idiot. You saw it coming all the way. Logan Stanley. Never mind. I'm kidding. Yeah.
I did see it coming.
Norris, Gunther, Perot, Forsberg sounds like goals to me.
All right. Well, we have another 20 minutes to do whatever we want, right? Because we always go 90 minutes on these fucking shows.
We're going to break down every single trade that's happened so far in critical detail, starting with
Connor Murphy. Breath. Connor Murphy. Oh, boy. Here we go. Actually, which of the second-round picks that the Calgary Flames collected for Mackenzie Weegar is your favorite?
The second one.
Perfect. Mine too.
The second is always the best.
Yep.
Is the Steve Yzerman plan working?
Interesting. Did Calgary actually figure it out? Because, their triples is best. What better way to make good on Mackenzie Weegar than to get 3 second-round picks? Now they're guaranteed to get a Braden Point out of it. I think that's how it works. Triples is best.
Triples is best. They are going to get a Braden. I really do wonder. I'm just trying to think of what is the worst take I could say about any of these trades? Like the worst possible take that I could think of. And it's like, I really think it would be that the Flames are fixed somehow because they've gotten rid of this is all they needed to do. This might be the worst possible take you could have. Is this is all they needed was a trade the only good players on their team. And it's not even like they're that good. It's just those might have been the best too, and Henderson and Weegar. And that's saying a lot about how bad that team was to start the year and how you seem to be the only person brave enough to say it.
I'm still the only. You just saw that the Ottawa Senators are minus 150 against them.
I know. I put $100 on it.
I don't know what we have to do to convince these people that this team sucks, but use your eyeballs. I don't know.
Yeah, they are bad. Want to break down the Arnold Palmer Invitational or just get out of here?
I mean, yeah, we should get out of here, but we should talk golf more on the Discord. The people deserve it if the people want it, get in on there. The tennis is back and going. We're back in the US, so no more weird slate starts for tennis, so I will be in there. I post a little sheet every day that breaks down each matchup based on my ELO stuff that I pulled from Tennis Abstract. So fun times going on in there. Trade deadline, of course, with all the action and stuff. If you don't want to be on Twitter all day, but you still want to, have a single source of information, the Discord will have, live posts basically pulled in as things happen. So someone will pull it, someone will post it basically, and we'll discuss it in great detail. We will figure out which of these second round picks is actually the best for Mackenzie Weegar. The betting channel, I've been trying to post in there the things that I do for the DK boost specifically, because I think that's useful for people who don't spend, time trying to maximize their boosts. Let me help you with that. I used mine this morning on the Vander Kane, who, he's not playing. So I actually technically won because, I don't get to lose on a Vander Kane in the worst possible matchup. But I wrote a bit about my thought process there and how the odds didn't line up, and other good stuff in there as well. So a lot of channels. You can get on the Discord for free. Just DM one of us. I am at Fake Moods. DJ's at DJMskumitchum94. And if I don't answer to you right away, just tweet at me, because shit gets lost in that message request thing because Elon broke Twitter and it's terrible. No, kiddies, we're not ripping a fucking Zamboni. They laid off our friends last week. We are giving them at least a week mourning period. But also, I have no interest in Zamboni right now.
It's there's still a lot to learn. And I just, I don't really want to draft Sidney Crosby and then find out that he actually has a torn MCL. And it's just, I'm going to probably give it a couple of weeks. I don't know how much ground you're really gaining on the competition. Maybe I'll do a few, actually. Now that I think about it, I am stupid enough to want to do that.
Okay, well, you can do that on your own time, because we're going to get out of here. Anything else you want to say about Thursday?
Go Sabres.
Okay, go Sabres indeed. On Friday, there's a 7-game slate. That means I will be doing a 7-game slate write-up. I will try to keep it brief, but you can subscribe to that at moods.beehive.com. We will discuss Saturday plans closer to the weekend, but possibly a Saturday show. If you're in the Discord, if you follow us on Twitter, you'll know what our plans are. And then if all else fails, we'll be back right here on the podcast feed next Tuesday. That'll do it from us. Thank you all for listening. From Doug, from DJ, from myself, have a good Thursday, everybody, and we will see ya.
You're saying they're looking like an idiot.
Well, is that any different than normal?
This is the first time I will admit was unbelievably wrong.